Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope y'all are having a great week. I want to share a couple thoughts with you today on GLE that have been on my mind a lot lately. And I spend a lot of my time writing these days, forming thoughts, being creative, which is really my passion. I've written songs, I've written short stories, and now I write all sorts of different things that are on my mind. And recently I heard a great quote by Jordan Peterson that writing is formalized thinking. I think that's huge. Writing is formalized thinking. And often, until we actually take the time to write down and really frame up our thoughts, we aren't clear on things. And this is important when you're talking about your goals. This is important when you're talking about learning. You really need to sit down and write these things down. You need to write them. And if you can do it with a pen and paper in your hand, I personally think that's the best way to do it. I do a lot of typing myself in addition to pen and paper writing, but I wanted to share that with you. I think it's so important that we take more time to write. We focus on reading all the time. You got to read, you got to absorb all this material, but how often do we really write? Maybe after a book, you sit down, write those things you learned from that book. Write how you're going to incorporate those into your life. Write ideas that it sparks in you. Write down how these things are going to help you achieve your goals, where you're going to use them, what conversations you want to use them in. Writing all these things down gets really, really clear vision of where you want to go and what you want to do. So we should all write. If you don't write and you're not writing these days, you need to be writing. I want to share a story tonight with you as well about my high school football days. And those that know me know I'm not a high school glory guy, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't good at sports in high school. I was a good high school athlete. And specifically, this story is kind of about a mindset that I've had to re-embrace recently. And back in high school, we ran the power I. For those that don't know, that's just your standard formation where we do a lot of running plays with a lead blocker, the fullback. You got a tailback sitting about seven or so yards back behind the line. And I got the ball a lot. I was a running back. People on the other side of the ball, the defense, they knew I was getting the ball because we ran 44 and 45, 42, 43. That's in the 2-hole, 4-hole, 3-hole, 5-hole, right and left, straight up the middle. Sometimes we'd run some sweeps or whatever, but for the most part, we ran hard right at them. And, lots of times they knew that play was coming. I remember sitting there, and I was number 9, and they'd say, "Hey, number 9's getting the ball. 9's getting the ball. He's going right here." And I'm sitting back there before the snap, and I'm like, "Yep, that's exactly where I'm going," right? And that could be scary, It's like, well, these guys know exactly where I'm going. Hope these guys block pretty good for me, otherwise I'm going to get wrecked right here, And we were still able to be successful. There were times I got hit in the backfield. There were times we lost yardage. But even though they knew we were running those plays, we're still able to average 7 or 8 yards a carry. I can't remember the exact number, but why? Why were we able to do that? Well, I had a team in front of me that was blocking, but I couldn't be worried about guys on my team missing their blocks. I couldn't be worried about the fact that the defense knew what play we were running. Yeah, we could have called audibles. We should have had better play calling. I admit, we could have done a lot of things, and this isn't a bash at anybody or, talking bad about anybody or bragging on my account at all. Just sharing this mindset that I've been kind of re-embracing. Everybody knew what we were doing. The odds were against us. They knew what play we were running. And guess what? We still went right at them. And we would still get the yardage we needed to move it down the field. And I think that mentality is you're going to just go at them. You've got your play. You know your play works. You've done it before. You know if everybody actually does their job, even if the play is known by the other team. you know if everyone does their job, that play should still work. At least get a few yards, right? And so I think this is important as you go through life and you're in business or you're an employee or whatever you're doing. You can run all sorts of different plays, and there's times for calling an audible. And some of the best teams they call good plays, right? It's important. You get to certain levels, you can't just have everybody know what play you're running, but there are plays that work. There's plays that they run at every level that these guys have seen over and over and over again. I mean, how much do these people study the plays that people are calling and these other teams? I mean, they're studying film. They know that playbook. They know the trick plays. They've looked at everything. And guess what? They still work. Sometimes they don't. But I just think it's so important. When you know you've got a play that works, you need to run it. You need to trust your team. You need to put your head down, and you need to run. And we've all run into it in football maybe or in other aspects of our lives where maybe you have some blockers that miss blocks. Maybe you had a defense on the other side that knew what play you were running. Maybe you're sitting over there going, we should call an audible. This is a terrible play. Why aren't we calling an audible? But guess what? That's the play. You better run it. And you better put your head down and commit to it and just giddy up and get going. So my advice for you today is find those plays. You need to be constantly gathering information as you're reading, as you're talking to your mentors, as you're in meetings throughout the day. And as I've been writing and thinking a lot more about the things that are on my mind with leadership and mentorship, I'm constantly just in a conversation with everybody every day, just thinking, hey, that's something I need to remember. That's important. That's going to help me in my life as I'm in any leadership situation I could possibly be in. And, you get those, write them down. Take 2 seconds. Stand-up comedians, right? They think of something funny. There's a Seinfeld episode where he writes down the flaming loaves of Sigmund, right? And he can't remember, and he can't read his own writing. He wrote it down in the middle of the night. He thought it was so funny. And he spends the whole episode trying to figure out what it says, and he gets to the end, and he's like, that's not funny. But, comedians, what do? They have ideas. They write them down. They formulate them. They take time. They put it together. They craft it. They shrink it. They chop it. They get it nice and tight and crisp, and that works. Why? Because they put in that effort on the front end to make it work. And if you do that too, you got your plays. As you're learning things, you're writing down, you're learning new plays. Formulate your plays. Yeah, there could be a million other plays out there, but guess what? There's plays out there that work. They've proven to work. Learn those plays. Learn from people who know how to run them right, and go run them. Put your head down and take action and go towards your goals. Quick episode today. Hope you got something out of it, and I hope this helps you go lead everything.